My name is Doyin Hassan. I'm an actor and a professor in the University College here in Kitchener, Ontario. So I arrived Canada for the first time, finally to settle on the 4th of July 2016. Before 2016, I've been coming to Canada at least. My first visit to Canada was in 2011. I went to Athabasca University in Edmonton. I went there for an academic conference. So while there, I saw good pieces of Canada. So I made up my mind I was going to check out the possibility of relocating. So by 2013, I started the immigration journey. I was on the platform for federal skilled worker category because of my education. So I did the English language test like all the applicants, but unfortunately, university lecturers were not listed on the people they wanted to take that year. I remember with federal skilled worker, your profession must be listed on the list of people needed in Canada per time. So at that point in time, I was disappointed. I couldn't come to Canada. So the following year, I was told that university lecturers were going to be listed. So I applied 2014. Actually, we're the last set of the federal skilled worker applicants, and that was in 2014. So we started the processing 2014. And yes, with my late wife, who I lost in 2020, that was when we landed, after we landed. That's another story for another day. But for this immigration journey, yes, we came to land on the 4th of July, 2016. And I stayed for about 2.5 months. I just took my annual vacation from the Lagos State University, where I was already an associate professor in business administration. So I got the permanent resident card and went back to Nigeria. So I applied for leave of absence from LASU. So for about 5 months, I waited in Nigeria for that to be ready until they cleared me, and I came to Canada finally February 2017. I landed in Brampton, Ontario, and because I had to change from British Columbia because I had more opportunities open for me in Ontario. Most people land in Ontario for the first time because there are so many opportunities, huge opportunities for different professions. So that was what informed my coming to Brampton. Plus, I had a family there. A friend of mine and his wife have been friends all through university days, Shegun Fajabe and the wife. So I had to stay with them for about 6 months before finally before I finally settled down. I must say it was a little bit rough, but not too bad. So I stayed there for about 6 months with them until I moved to Kitchener when I got a full-time appointment at Conestoga College. So presently, I'm an actor and a professor. Well, what I currently do, I teach full-time at Conestoga College. I actually teach on the International Business Management degree program. And I became a full-time professor at Conestoga around December 2018. So that's what I currently do, apart from my acting ministry. I am an actor. I do gospel works. I do faith-based messages, right? A lot of people misunderstood me in the past, even up until now, about my choice of ministry, about my choice of acting. why is it only you do gospel? You don't do secular? These questions pop up a lot. But I tell people, I act on faith-based messages that would encourage people, that would make them better persons, that would teach morals, and I'm optimistic about them. That's my calling. Yes. Well, at the Lagos State University, I was an associate professor, so I was due to becoming a full professor the following year before I moved to Canada. So I've been head of department in marketing, Lagos State University. I've acted in many roles. Some of the things I did remarkable then was being an assistant director at the Lagos State University. I was actually in charge of two campuses, Ogba campus and Ikorodu. So it was a lot challenging, but for my leadership role, yes, I was able to gain a lot from that. So as an associate professor in LASU, and I was due for full professorship the following year, I felt I could just at least stay at bar or at par with what I was back in Nigeria. But getting to Canada is another kettle of fish. It's a totally different one. The teaching pedagogy here is quite different from back home. The style of teaching here, the curriculum here, is actually quite different from the way it was back in Nigeria. So for me, I had to learn, especially how to teach adult learners in Canada. Back home in Nigeria, I was teaching adults. So back in Canada, it's a different culture. It's a totally different culture. I experienced one or two culture shocks. I'll still come to that when I arrived in Canada. But I needed to learn how to teach Canadian adults. So I did that at Humber College for a couple of months. I graduated, and it opened doors for me, because when I went for interviews, I was able to address the things they want in a professor. And that actually is what I did. You need to do the transition properly. You must learn the culture and adapt. I've had challenges, but for me, I'll call it a culture shock. It's a culture shock because back home in Nigeria, I've mentored many young men, young people. I remember one vividly, not even one, not two, not three, not four. They look up to me as an actor, they look up to me as an uncle. Some will even say I'm their dad, yes. So at some point I mentored quite a number of people. But the culture here in Canada is different. You may not be able to mentor like you do back in Nigeria. And I'll make it very clear. The fact is that I learned my lesson the very hard way. And I've been looking for an opportunity to actually speak out my mind about that experience. So I'm glad I'm able to do this. When I was teaching sometime in Brampton, I do not want to mention the college. I don't want to mention anything, but that was my first teaching appointment in a public university college. So I was teaching there, and I met one particular student whose name, I don't want to mention the name again, all right? But the person is not my color, he's Caucasian, and we started talking. He wasn't even one of my students. What attracted me to that student was the name. What attracted me to that student was the name. He was combining two Christian names. So I had the mindset, this should be a Christian, and this is a potential for filmmaking, because I do a lot of gospel works. And I thought, okay, for global acceptance and breaking through different cultures, I could feature this young man in one of our movies. So I started talking with him, but he took it for something else. So that actually was terrible. The young man wrote a letter to the HR because he misunderstood me. Here in Canada, you don't touch people. You don't hug people. It's a totally different culture. And when you're talking to somebody, you keep a distance. They call it, if you stay too close to somebody, it's like you're crossing your boundary. Back in Africa, back in Nigeria, I can meet you today, I can know your place today, I can hug my buddies, I can slap you in the back, I can kick you, playfully, and we'll get over all those things. It was part of fun growing up. But here in Canada, you don't do that kind of joke with people. So I learned that the hard way. So moving forward, when I got my job in the present place I work, I actually have been very, very careful about dealing with people. Okay, you keep that distance. If anybody wants you to counsel them, make sure you're meeting in an open place, maybe a corridor or an open office where people are going back and forth, and be sure you're not having any privacy with that person. It doesn't have to do with students alone, also with adults. You want to keep it open. And I took the smile for friendship. A lot of people in Canada grew up, they're being trained to be nice to people. In all fairness, an average Canadian is very nice, but there's a boundary. Yes, relatively yes. You can't settle in one day. Rome was not built in a day. You can't settle even in 15 years. You keep evolving, all right? Things are changing. But one very fantastic thing that I found resourceful to me is the Church of God. Because I'm a filmmaker, I'm an actor, and I belong to a small church community. That is where I love the coming together. The community in the church is super awesome. I'm able to meet other Nigerians. We're able to interact. We are like one small family. So being in the church for me is therapeutic. Even after service on Sunday, you still find many people hanging around and hugging people here and there, cracking jokes and playing till God knows when. You don't go home immediately, because once you go back home that Sunday, you may not be able to see that person in person until next week Sunday. Or if by chance you come for midweek service, you see each other. But I like the church community. Is one of the things that really helped me settle down. I had a friend who was very helpful when I arrived Kitchener. He would drive me to wherever I wanted. I didn't have a car, all right, until I got my own. So I look forward to paying it forward to other people who come. I assist them moving things around if they're new. It's actually very overwhelming if you arrive a new society, a new community. So I know what it is. So I've been able to do quite a number of things for myself, because I live in Ontario, and they say Ontario is yours to discover. There's so many things that will unfold. But I tell you, the most important thing is being able to interact with other people. Some people get here and they tell you, I don't want to interact with other Nigerians. I don't like them. From back home, I just want to do my thing. You might be going about brooding over that problem over and over again, when the solution lies in the hands of somebody sitting right beside you in the church. You just need to open your mouth and say it. They might not give you money, but the information they're going to give you is going to be very, very phenomenal, and you wish you've been talking to that person ever since. So I tell people, open up. If they say no, there's no point. There's not written on your forehead that someone denied you this assistance or whatever it is. Just open up, because you're going to do it to other people when they come around and they need your assistance. You'll remember that someone helped you, so you want to pay it forward. So that's my own philosophy, and that's how I think we can settle down here. If you want to settle in a community, being alone is not the best. Being alone is not the best. You need friends around you. I had my first child recently, and it's been overwhelming. People around came and they assisted. Some started cooking, taking care of the baby, doing so many things in the house, which I wouldn't have been able to do on my own. It's just like back in Nigeria, all right? But But I think it's a very good thing to mix with the community where you belong. Yep, that's a very good question. I miss Nigeria. That's my home country. What I miss about Nigeria is essentially the people. The people that I left behind. My friends, my family members, I miss them. So each time I schedule myself to travel in a couple of months or days, I'm always excited when I'm going to Nigeria, because it's like having a stint of the past, like echoes from the past. You see your old friends, you remember things. Matter of fact, you can actually pick up from where you stopped. So it's always fun going back home. For me, I love the people. I love my culture. I love the food we eat, and I love the fact that my choices are innumerable. I have varied choices about everything, how to combine everything. So yes, I miss the food, I miss the people. Well, as an actor, when I'm alone, I like to watch the TV. I watch a lot of movies because I learn from them. I get inspired from them. That's actually one of the things I love to do, watching movies. Then I eat whenever I can. I'm growing older now, so I've reduced my intake of food. But watching TV, watching interesting programs on TV, and hanging out with friends, meeting new people, I think it's quite a lot. Yes, well, back in Nigeria, for those who are familiar with Nigeria, even if you leave Lagos for Ibadan, relocating from Lagos to Ibadan, it's still overwhelming because you start picking new friends, you're getting to know the environment. It's always overwhelming and challenging. So it's expected when you come to Canada, everything looks strange, the culture shock, the way things are. You are not at the bus stop at the right time. You see the bus going and the driver is not going to stop because you have to be there right on time. So many things, and being timely to events, you have to be a man of your words. If you really want to survive here in Canada, you give an appointment, or you're given an appointment, you have to work up to meeting that time. Nothing like African time. Okay, so when you get here, I think what you need primarily is the people around you. Go to the church. For me as a Christian, I find it easy to relate because I meet so many people every day. So I would suggest to you as an immigrant, be positive. You made up your mind to leave Nigeria to this place in the first place, or wherever you have come from. And you want to make it work. And you have every reason to want to relocate. You've counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 reasons why you should relocate. And now you're here, you're feeling disappointed, and suddenly you want to change your mind and go back. Going backward is not the thing. And I take my words, I take my inspiration from patriarchs and matriarchs of old in the scripture who had to leave their comfort zone, their local community, relocating to another place where they didn't know them, and they succeeded. So if you come here, it's not out of place for you to succeed. When you come here, you meet other people. I remember the story of Abraham and so many characters in the Bible who had to leave their families and go to a place where God showed them. And that was where they prospered. So no going back as an immigrant, except if you have a genuine reason to go back. Maybe someone is sick, or maybe you just want to go help somewhere in Nigeria or back home for about 2, 3, 4 years. You want to come back again? Well, or you're led to relocate as spiritual people do, back home. That's okay. But when you get there, when you're in Rome, do as they do in Rome. Behave like the Romans. If you do anything contrary to the rules and the new society you're in, then you can be called a criminal. So it's important for you to adapt to that culture, adapt to everything around you. I wish you the very best.